Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we break down these dense financial reports and figure out what's really going on, maybe even find a few juicy secrets along the way. Today we're diving into Brookfield Business Partners LP's latest filing to see what the numbers reveal about their performance in the first half of 2025 and how that stacks up against last year. This report gives us a look into how Brookfield Business Partners is doing its financial health, its strategies, and any big moves it might be making. It's like getting a peek behind the curtain of a major global company. So what's the headline for the second quarter of 2025? Well, broadly speaking, things are moving and shaking as they always do with a company like this. We'll dig into the specifics, but think of this as a status update on their continuing operations and any new developments that are shaping their business. Brookfield Business Partners operates across several key areas, and this report breaks down that performance segment by segment. This helps us understand which parts of their business are driving growth and which might be facing headwinds. Think of it like looking at different players on a sports team to see who's scoring the most points. This number is their central identifier in the SEC filings. It's how they keep track of all the official documents associated with Brookfield Business Partners. This date, June 30, 2025, marks the end of the reporting period for this specific filing, essentially the snapshot in time we're looking at today. This tells us that the financial figures we're looking at are reported in United States dollars, our universal currency. For understanding these numbers, this is a technical tag indicating that the report is dealing with share information which is fundamental to understanding a company's ownership structure and value. This is another tag specific to Brookfield's reporting, which helps categorize different aspects of their business operations. We see this number pop up a lot. It's just a consistent identifier for the company throughout the document. This date marks the beginning of the reporting period, January 1, 2025, giving us the full first half of the year to analyze. This refers to the end of the previous year, December 31, 2024, which is crucial for comparing performance year over year. This is April 1, 2025, the start of the second quarter of 2025, allowing us to see how the first 3 months of the year went. And this is April 1, 2024, the start of the second quarter of last year, essential for our year-over-year comparisons. This refers to the company's issued capital, essentially the money raised from selling stock. It's a core component of a company's equity. This indicates a specific class of limited partners within Brookfield's structure. This is important because it can affect how profits and losses are distributed. Retained earnings are the profits a company has kept over time, rather than distributing them to shareholders. It shows how much the company has reinvested in itself. This deals with how changes in ownership stakes in their subsidiary companies affect the overall financials. It can signal acquisitions, divestitures, or shifts in control. This is a bit more technical. It represents unrealized gains or losses that aren't included in net income, but still affect equity. Think of it as a hidden value that can swing. This represents a stake in a subsidiary that isn't fully owned by the parent company, but can be bought back by the parent. It's a bit of a complex ownership structure. Similar to the earlier limited partner mentioned, this specifically flags the interest of special limited partners in the company's subsidiaries. This relates to shares that can be exchanged for another type of security or cash, often a feature in more complex corporate structures. This highlights the portion of non-controlling interests that are tied to preferred shares, a different class of stock with specific rights. This is a catch-all for any equity interests that don't fit into the other categories. It ensures all equity is accounted for. This tag points to performance within Brookfield's industrial segment, a significant part of their business that likely includes manufacturing and industrial services. This seems to be a specific business unit or company within the industrial segment. Chemelex will likely have its own financial story. Intangible assets are things like brand value, customer relationships, or patents customer related. Intangibles are a key driver for many businesses, and their value can impact overall company worth. This refers to the value and protection of Brookfield's brands and trademarks, which are essential for customer recognition and loyalty. This category covers the company's investments in technology and software, which are crucial for operational efficiency and innovation. FOR's for financial assets at fair value through profit or loss category member EQAD indicates financial assets whose changes in value are reported directly on the income statement, affecting profit and loss immediately. If falls financial assets at fair value through other comprehensive income category member accus are financial assets where changes in value are reported in other comprehensive income, which is a separate part of equity not directly hitting the income statement until sold. If is full financial assets at amortized cost category member, these are financial assets like loans or bonds measured at their amortized cost, which means their value is spread out over their lifespan. This is a more stable valuation method. Boo, cash and cash equivalents, one member. This represents the company's most liquid assets, cash on hand, and highly liquid short-term investments essential for day-to-day operations. I's full trade receivables member. This is the money owed to Brookfield by its customers for goods or services already delivered. It's a key indicator of sales activity and credit management. If FOL, derivatives member, these are financial contracts whose value is derived from an underlying asset, like a currency or interest rate. They are often used for hedging or speculation. Forceful financial liabilities at fair value through profit or loss. Boo, trade and other payables member. This is the money Brookfield owes to its suppliers and other short-term creditors. It's a snapshot of their immediate obligations to others. Boo, borrowings, one member. This refers to the company's debts and loans, an important measure of their financial leverage and how much they rely on borrowed money. For provisions, decommissioning liabilities, deferred revenues, unearned premium reserve, work in Tribric, post-employment benefits, liabilities held for sale, and tax duties. Member equities is a long one, but it covers various liabilities like future costs for decommissioning equipment, deferred revenue where payment is received before service is delivered, and obligations for employee benefits. It's a snapshot of many different future commitments. Full equity investments member. And two, these are investments in other companies' stocks that Brookfield holds. They can be a source of income or a strategic investment. Boo, other financial assets, debt instruments at fair value through profit or loss member. These are debt instruments like bonds that Brookfield owns, and their value is adjusted to current market prices, impacting profit and loss immediately. If full hedges of net investment in foreign operations. Member QVs are financial instruments used to protect against currency fluctuations when a company has investments in foreign operations. If full cash flow hedges member these are used to protect against the volatility of cash flows, typically resulting from highly probable forecast transactions. If falls fair value hedges member quotes. These are used to hedge the exposure to changes in the fair value of a recognized asset or liability or an unrecognized firm commitment. If full, level 3 of fair value hierarchy member this category in fair value accounting. Refers to assets or liabilities that are valued using unobservable inputs, meaning there's less market data available and more estimation involved. If full recurring fair value measurement member this indicates that a fair value measurement is performed regularly throughout the reporting period. Boo, corporate and government bonds member. These are debt securities issued by corporations and governments that Brookfield holds, a very common type of investment. Boo, other financial assets member. This is a broad category for financial assets that don't fit into more specific classifications. Abu, other financial liabilities member. Similarly, this covers financial liabilities that aren't classified elsewhere. Sobo, construction services member. This refers to the performance of Brookfield's construction services business, likely a significant revenue generator. Boo, infrastructure services segment member. Covers services related to infrastructure, a critical sector for economic development. Sobu, disposal group dispose of by sale, not discontinued operations. One member this signifies a part of the business that has been classified as held for sale and is no longer considered a continuing operation. Bol, Canadian aggregates production operation member. This is a specific operation within Canada focused on producing aggregates materials like sand and gravel used in construction. Boo, Real Estate Service Operations member, This includes businesses that provide services related to real estate, likely property management, leasing or development. Ivras Fall, bottom of range member, This is an accounting term often used in estimates or valuations to represent the lowest possible value within a given range. If for top of range member. Conversely, this represents the highest possible value within a given range. Offshore oil services member This is a segment of Brookfield's business focused on providing services to the offshore oil and gas industry. If full gross carrying amount member, this refers to the original cost or book value of an asset before any deductions for depreciation or impairment. Full, accumulated depreciation, amortization and impairment member. This represents the total depreciation, amortization and impairment charges recorded against an asset over its life, reducing its book value. Full, goodwill member. Goodwill is an intangible asset that arises when a company acquires another company for a price higher than the fair value of its net identifiable assets. It represents brand reputation, customer loyalty, and other unquantifiable factors. This is a benchmark interest rate that has become increasingly important in financial markets, especially after the phasing out of other rates. This is a type of loan that allows a company to borrow and repay funds repeatedly up to a certain limit. This is often used for working capital needs. This means the interest rate on a loan or debt is not fixed. It changes based on a benchmark rate like SOFR or a prime rate. This is another common benchmark interest rate often used as the basis for loans and credit facilities. This refers to various credit facilities and agreements Brookfield has in place essential for their financing operations. LIBOR was a widely used benchmark interest rate that's now being phased out. This mention indicates past or transitional financial arrangements. This timestamp is specific and likely refers to a particular event or valuation date, possibly a significant transaction or reporting adjustment as of April 27, 2025. This is a standard financial reporting term indicating the ultimate controlling entity within a group of companies, typically the main parent company. This refers to a business unit focused on providing services within the healthcare sector. This again points to a business unit that has been sold off and is no longer part of the company's ongoing operations. This category includes transactions with entities or individuals that have significant influence over the company, but are not subsidiaries. This is important for transparency. This highlights a growing area of business focused on energy storage solutions. These are agreements to buy or sell a specific amount of foreign currency at a future date at a predetermined exchange rate, used to manage currency risk. This is a contract where two parties exchange principal and interest payments on a loan in one currency for principal and interest payments in another currency. Full interest rate swap contract member. This is a contract where two parties agree to exchange interest rate payments for a specified period, usually to manage interest rate risk. Commodity contract one member, this suggests a contract related to the trading or hedging of commodities like oil, gas, or metals. Full option contract member, an option contract gives the buyer the right, but not the obligation to buy or sell an underlying asset at a specific price on or before a certain date. Full non-controlling interests member, this represents the portion of equity in a subsidiary that is not owned by the parent company but by other shareholders. It's a crucial element in understanding consolidated financial statements. Equity attributable to owners of parent and limited partners. This breaks down the total equity to show what belongs to the main shareholders and the limited partners separately. Preferred equity securities member. These are securities that represent ownership in a corporation and pay a fixed dividend. They typically rank higher than common shares in dividend payments and asset distribution upon liquidation. Full equity attributable to owners of parent member this item specifically shows the equity held by the ordinary shareholders of the parent company. Redeemable non-controlling interest attributable to owners of parent member. This is an equity interest in a subsidiary that is controlled by the parent but has terms allowing it to be redeemed or bought back by the parent company. The exchangeable non-controlling interest attributable to owners of parent member et this refers to a non-controlling interest in a subsidiary that has terms allowing it to be exchanged for something else, like shares of the parent company. Brookfield Wealth Solutions member EQ this likely refers to a specific division or entity within Brookfield that focuses on wealth management services. Attributable to owners of parent special limited partner member Cal this further refines the equity breakdown to show what's attributable to a specific type of limited partner, which can be important for understanding incentives and distributions, wasteful joint control or significant influence. Member at this indicates that Brookfield has joint control or significant influence over certain entities, reflecting a shared control or substantial impact in their operations. If or full preference shares member feel. This refers to shares that have a preference over common stock in dividend payments and liquidation proceeds. EPI's full reserve of exchange differences on translation member. This reserve accounts for gains or losses arising from the translation of foreign currency financial statements into the reporting currency, financial statements into the reporting currency. IFRS full reserve of gains and losses on financial assets measured at fair value. Through other comprehensive income member, this reserve captures unrealized gains or losses on certain financial assets that are measured at fair value through other comprehensive income. IFRS full miscellaneous other reserves member EQ. This is a category for various other reserves that don't fit into more specific classifications, providing a comprehensive view of equity components. Business services segment member capitalist segment likely encompasses a range of services, including administrative support, consulting, and other business-related functions. Infrastructure services segment member. This segment focuses on services related to developing, maintaining, and operating infrastructure like utilities or transportation networks. Industrials segment member ETS. As we saw earlier, this segment covers industrial operations and likely manufacturing. Corporate and other segments member. All this category often includes the corporate headquarters functions and any segments that don't fit neatly into the main operational categories. Full goods or services transferred at point in time member core. This refers to revenue recognized when control of goods or services is transferred to the customer at a specific moment. Full goods or services transferred over time member. This refers to revenue recognized as control transfers over a period of time, for example, in long-term construction projects of country US. Indicates operations or financial results specifically from the United States or country. Subs signifies operations or financial results from Australia. Europe member, Europe aka to EAK Comte collectively sins or financial results from various European countries collectively CLARCOM. This denotes operations or financial results from Great Britain or the United Kingdom. Country Amex Goev. This signifies operations or financial results from Great Britain or the United Kingdom. Country Amex Goev. This signifies operations or financial results from Canada. Other geographic areas member tab this includes results from all geographic areas not specifically listed elsewhere, providing a consolidated view of global operations. For operating segments member, these is a key element that breaks down the company's performance by its main business segments, allowing investors to see how different parts of the business are performing. For unallocated amounts member, these are financial items that cannot be attributed to a specific operating segment, often representing central corporate costs or eliminations. Automotive member had this would indicate a segment focused on the automotive industry if it were active. FR's full estimates of present value of future cash flows member EQ. This refers to the current value of expected future cash flows from an asset or liability, often used in valuation models. For risk adjustment for non-financial risk member at Pusissa, an adjustment made to a company's financial estimates to account for the risks associated with non-financial factors like operational or market risks. For contractual service margin member, IPU is as part of the revenue recognition model for insurance contracts representing the profit a company expects to earn over the life of a contract. F4's major business combination, member EVUS, indicates a significant acquisition or merger that has had a substantial impact on the company's financial statements. F4 disposal of major subsidiary member. This refers to the sale of a large part of the company's business which can significantly alter its structure and financial profile. EFI's full manufacturing operation member Q. This likely refers to a part of the business involved in manufacturing goods. If FIRA's full software and technology services operation member, points to a business unit that provides software development and related technology services. I4 work access services operation member Q. This likely refers to services related to providing access to work environments, for example, scaffolding or elevated work platforms. ERA's full major or ordinary share transactions. Member this signifies significant changes in the company's common stock, such as large stock buybacks or issuances. Now let's get into the numbers and see what Brookfield Business Partners revealed for the 2025 and how it compares to last year. A lot of this data focuses on equity and liabilities, giving us insight into how the company is financed and structured. Looking at the equity attributable to limited partners, we see data for both the end of the second quarter of 2025 and the end of 2024. This gives us a clear year-over-year comparison for this key ownership group. Retained earnings for these limited partners at June 30, 2025 is a number we compare against their 2024 numbers. This shows how much profit is being reinvested back into the business for this specific partner group. The redeemable non-controlling interest number is interesting because it represents stakes in subsidiaries that the parent company has the option to buy back. Comparing this balance at June 30, 2025 to the previous year will tell us if the company is consolidating its ownership or perhaps divesting these interests. Then we have the equity attributable to the parent company specifically. This is the portion of the company's net worth that belongs to the main shareholders. Looking at exchangeable non-controlling interests at the start of 2025 compared to the same period in 2024 helps us understand any shifts in these complex ownership structures. Now let's switch gears to segment performance, specifically focusing on the business services segment in the US for the second quarter of 2025. This gives us a regional perspective on a key service area. We'll also look at the infrastructure services segment in the US for the same period. This highlights another major operational area within the American market. And of course, the industrial segment in the US for the second quarter of 2025. This completes our regional view of the US operations. Moving on to Australia, we'll check the performance of the business services segment there for the second quarter. This gives us an international comparison point. Similarly, we'll examine the infrastructure services segment in Australia during the same time frame. And the industrial segment in Australia for the second quarter of 2025 will round out our Australian look. Now let's hop over to Europe and check the business services segment for the second quarter. This broadens our international perspective. We'll also look at the infrastructure services segment across Europe in the second quarter to understand their performance in that region. And finally, the industrial segment in Europe for the second quarter of 2025 completes our European overview. Let's go south to Brazil and examine the business services segment for the second quarter of 2025. This gives us a view of their operations in South America. We'll also check the infrastructure services segment in Brazil during the second quarter. And the industrial segment in Brazil for the second quarter 2025 provides another international data point. Heading over to the UK, we'll look at the business services segment for the second quarter of 2025. And the infrastructure services segment in Great Britain for the same period. Finally, the industrial segment in Great Britain for the second quarter will give us a clear picture of their UK performance. Now, to Mexico, let's see how the business services segment performed in the second quarter of 2025. We'll also examine the infrastructure services segment in Mexico during the second quarter. And the industrial segment in Mexico for the second quarter of 2025 will complete our North American review. And then to Canada for the business services segment in the second quarter of 2025. We'll also look at the infrastructure services segment in Canada during the second quarter. And the industrial segment in Canada for the second quarter of 2025 wraps up our look at these specific segments across geographies. This entry covers the business services segment performance in other geographic areas not specifically listed, providing a comprehensive global view. Similarly, this covers the infrastructure services segment performance in other geographic areas. And this is for the industrial segment in other geographic areas. This tag indicates performance data for the business services segment as a whole, within the context of the company's overall operating segments. This does the same for the infrastructure services segment, a key operational division. And this entry provides the data for the industrial segment's performance within the broader operating segment structure. This covers the corporate functions, and any smaller segments that are grouped together, a crucial part of understanding the full financial picture. Unallocated amounts are items that don't fit neatly into any single segment, often representing corporate overhead or inter-segment eliminations. This indicates a significant event. A major subsidiary was sold off around July 2025. This is a big deal as it changes the company's structure and future earnings potential. This points to significant activity involving the company's common stock happening around late July 2025, which could impact shareholder value. Now let's talk about what all this means. Brookfield Business Partners operates in a diversified range of sectors, and the geographic breakdown in this report is pretty telling. Their performance in the US, Australia, Europe, Brazil, the UK, Mexico, and Canada shows a wide global reach. The key takeaway here is how these various segments are performing year over year. While the report gives us the structure and the segments, we'd need the actual numbers associated with these tags to fully assess profitability and growth. We look for steady or increasing retained earnings in their limited partner structures and manageability in their liabilities, like borrowings. The disposal of a major subsidiary in July 2025 is a significant event that will undoubtedly reshape the company's financial narrative moving forward. It's a strategic move that could free up capital or reduce overall revenue depending on the nature of the sold business. Understanding the context of this sale is crucial for assessing its true impact. What we're really trying to find are trends. For instance, if the business services segment in the US consistently shows strong growth in retained earnings, while the industrial segment in Europe sees its liabilities increase, we'd want to dig into why that might be happening. Is it market conditions, operational efficiency, or strategic reinvestment? The company's approach to financial assets and liabilities also tells a story. Companies that hold more assets at fair value through profit or loss might be taking on more market risk, but also have the potential for quicker gains. Conversely, assets at amortized cost suggest a more stable and predictable approach. Companies with high borrowings need to show strong cash flows to service that debt. In assessing Brookfield Business Partners based on this filing, we see a complex global entity with diverse operations. The disposal of a major subsidiary is a significant event you'll want to track closely. The performance across different segments and geographies provides a rich picture, but without the actual financial figures, we're looking at the skeleton rather than the full body. Overall, Brookfield Business Partners seems to be actively managing its portfolio and expanding its global footprint. Its diversified segments provide a cushion against downturns in any single market, but also mean the company's success is tied to a complex interplay of global economic factors. Alright, that's our breakdown of Brookfield Business Partners' recent corporate activities and financial structure. What's your take on these results and what they signal for the company's future, especially with that recent subsidiary sale? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives into the companies shaping our world. Don't forget to check out our Discord community, linked in the description, for more discussions and early access to our content. Thanks for watching. See you next time.